This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning. Coming up in a little bit, a few moments, Mike Keys. I know I've been talking about him for the past few episodes, but finally it is here. 22-year-old gentleman flies private jets. That's how he makes his bread. Meets some celebrities, stays professional, and he just has a drive that not a lot of people have, whether they're his age or old like me, especially in this current era. That conversation and every conversation is brought to you by Cell Shop, an Arizona-based retailer that strives to be your destination of choice for wireless services, whether Arizona or Washington State. They're an authorized AT&T detailer, so visit them at cellshop.us and get connected today. The other day, I get a call from my mother. It's kind of funny. She's like, hey, I'm going through, dad stuff. My dad passed October of 2020. She's going through her stuff. She goes, hey, I found these magazines, some of these Sports Illustrateds. Do you want them? I go, I don't know. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, all the Sports Illustrateds I've ever collected, I still have here somewhere collecting dust. Typically the ones with like Michael Jordan on the cover. My age, I'm 46. That's what we did. We collected magazines, magazine covers. Anyway, I'm sitting there wondering, like, what are these? And she's like, I don't know. There's some sort of special edition Sports Illustrateds. Got some ladies with swimsuits. I go, is this the swimsuit edition? She goes, yeah, actually, that's what it is. It's the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. I'm like, no thanks. And then she goes, okay. Well, you wouldn't be happy. You wouldn't happen to be, she said jokingly, but I think she was kind of serious. You wouldn't happen to be interested in any old Playboys, would you? No, Mom. Good on the old Playboys. But I did say, what year are they? It's like 1960s. So I feel like there's a market for them, but they have to be a certain age. But it would be curious to see, because I told my mom, I go, you never know, because there's probably stuff in those magazines that we see on Fox today. And she's like, yeah, I know. Media and outlet, everything's changed so much. I think in an upcoming episode, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how things are just so much different. I grew up in the era where we had car posters on the wall, and now no one collects car posters anymore. You don't need the car poster. You have a poster, you just download it, wallpaper on your computer, or download it on your phone. Go to YouTube. You can see every single car you've ever wanted to see. It's no more the thrill of the hunt. Anyway, after this word from 4Wheel Online, Mr. Mike Keys. Jhae Pfenning here, and I want to tell you guys about 4Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. Their truck products cover everything you need to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. And if you need a tire and wheel package, head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. So visit them online at 4Wheel Online or call them at 813-769-2451. Again, that's 4Wheel Online, the number 4Wheel Online. Sitting in front of me, supermodel by night, pilot by day, like a private pilot. We're going to find out what that really means, Mr. Mike Keys.
That is the best introduction I think anybody's ever given me. Wow.
Dude, no, because you go on your Instagram, and it's like, oh, what are you freaking, getting paid by Polo or one of these other people? Or, tell us.
So that's new, getting paid for posts. That, as much crap as people give me for taking these kind of pictures or always, taking pictures on the airplane, this is the first time I actually kind of saw what I wanted come to fruition, because I'm like, if I'm going to put all this time and effort into Instagram, it'd be great if I got some free stuff and some money out of it. So It's kind of a, give and take with that, but so far so good. The aviation stuff's helped quite a bit.
Sure. You look good doing it,
Thank you.
So, your friends are going to poke fun of you, but friends are always going to poke fun of you for anything, always. But from somebody who doesn't really know you, and I would imagine 100% of the people watching are like, who is this guy? This is cool. And that's, why you can get paid for that stuff. So that's pretty awesome.
No, thank you. It's weird to be the one posting stuff all the time, because I remember on anything, even like your account, just like, oh, these guys have cool cars, they're doing this, that, and the other. And to be able to actually kind of share what I'm doing, I think is it's really rewarding. People are reaching out and, giving advice wherever I can, trying to guide people the right direction. It's been pretty cool, especially, I still think of myself, I'm a 22-year-old idiot, but the fact that people
22.
22.
No kidding. Yeah.
That's been pretty cool too. Just, I think to myself all the time, like, I don't know why they're bothering, asking me, or there's so many better sources out there, but whenever I can, it's cool to help out a little bit.
Well, you have a cool, unique, exotic look to you. You're tall, you're thin, you fucking fly planes. Like, how did you get into that? Like, tell me about the planes, because those are like little private. I mean, I've never been in a small plane. So.
Yeah. So growing up, my dad worked for BMW in finance, but every year they'd send him on a year trip to Europe. So like annual trip to Europe for like a couple weeks. Mm. And he got to bring his whole family along. So that kind of got me accustomed to traveling, getting on airplanes, and I fell in love right away. And I'm not sure if you ever saw Entourage.
I'm familiar with the show. I'm not too embarrassed that I never watched it. It was HBO, right?
Yeah.
So back then I didn't even have HBO. Okay. I mean, I could probably watch all the episodes now, but there's like a million shows. I'm assuming it's on like HBO Max.
I think so too. So I saw
love it.
Vinny Chase. Yeah, he was like the guy, right? And just watching him go to like Van Nuys and then roll up to like this private jet and blast off anywhere in the world, I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I was sold from then on out. And it was like just a push from then on just to dedicate whatever time and money and opportunities I had to try to make something like that happen from then on.
So is he of the main, is he the main crew? There's like five of them or whatever?
Yeah, four or five.
Is he like a pilot? That's what he does in the show?
No, he's just so the show is like...
The Friends, right? Based on Mark Wahlberg or something?
Yeah, that's what they said. He produced, I think executive produced it too. But essentially it was just a kid from the streets of like Brooklyn that really good looking dude, really talented, and he became a movie star, and he took his three closest friends along the ride with him. And then his agent, like Ari, he's kind of like the fifth, but it was, you got to watch it. It's a good one.
I mean, I know everyone says it's great. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about that show, ever.
It's starting to age kind of poorly, just because they're, the kind of out-of-pocket jokes that were okay, like mid-2000s. That's like the only thing that, looking back on it, but taking it for what it was back then, it was pretty cool. It's
cringy, right? I mean, there's some of those old shows, you watch them and you're right. It's like, oh, you can't say that today.
No.
Like, that's, everyone kind of laughed then, but you just can't say that today, So it's, I don't have a strong opinion on that. Just things change, the world evolves one way or the other, whether we like it or not. But so Entourage. And so tell us a little about, I mean, don't you have to fly for like, how many hours before you can do what you do?
So,
I mean, you're 22. What the hell?
Yeah, I started flying an actual private jet when I was 21. So pretty recent. I mean, I'm in it now like a year and some change. But essentially where corporate and commercial differ is corporate is a lot more of, I'd say networking is,
Which one are you, corporate?
Corporate aviation, yeah. So that's like private jets and small to... larger jets like that seat like 20 max.
Oh, right. Obviously, yeah. I'm sorry. Commercial is like a Airbus 320 or something, right?
Yeah. So it's like it's just a completely different like style of travel. And the big thing for these folks is, okay, I'm going to get on this airplane. Like I don't want to lift a finger. Like as they shouldn't. Like they're paying an exuberant amount of money to be able to do this. So the time they get on, they're treated like kings or queens. You got to be really social. You got to be able to talk to all of them. And, I'm meeting people that I watched in movies, and
cool.
It's like, heartbeat's really fast. And then you just kind of take a deep breath and, continue. Cool. Yeah. And they kind of react to it. They're a lot more receptive if you're not freaking out. And if you're just kind of a professional, you'll end up having like a pretty cool relationship with them. But essentially how I got into it, I did like the typical, I went to like a mom and pop flight school out in Scottsdale. Got through all my ratings. So there's private, instrument, commercial multi-engine, and that's pretty much like the foundation.
How old were you when you did that?
I started when I was 18.
Okay.
So right when I went to ASU.
Yep.
It took me, some people it takes a couple of years. It took me, it took a couple of years, but some people even faster.
Right.
It's really self-paced. So, if you have the money, it's so expensive. It's unbelievable. But if you have the money to, dump everything in and just be there nonstop, you're on your own schedule. So it's completely self-paced, which is pretty cool. But you essentially get out of school with like 250 hours. And as a professional pilot, the only thing that like makes or breaks you or what people care about, first thing people ask is, how many hours do you have? It's like, resumes are important, like in like the professional sense, but in aviation, it's like, okay, how many hours do you have in this? How many hours do you have in that? What's your total time? Like that's really all people care about, because without putting any fluff on anything, it's just bare bones. This is where I'm at in my experience. So everybody that's going through flight school is probably going to get out like 250 hours. And now there's 2 routes that you can go down. There's either flight instructing, which for a great majority of people is the avenue they choose for a couple reasons. Large schools that partner with airlines, they kind of promote it. So, you get out 250 hours, you're unhireable. Nobody's going to touch you that low time. Nobody.
Right.
Like it's
to
not
you,
like,
it's a lot of hours, but the reality is it's nothing.
Yeah, and it's not even like, oh, maybe one guy got a great. It's like nobody. Like insurance won't even touch you. The way around that is you start to flight instruct. So you go from the left seat of a Cessna to a right and just start teaching those same people that you were just learning from. And it's pretty cool because it's full circle, but it's exhausting. You're kind of going through the same mundane tasks and teaching over and over again. And it's unbelievably dangerous because you're going in these like practice areas, like over in like Santan Valley and just like southwest of Arizona. And you got planes on top of planes on top of planes, just doing like steep turns and stalls. And like the near misses are constant. It's a war zone out there. But for a lot of people, it's the best avenue because you go from being untouchable, but for this kind of job, you can actually loosely make a living. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know, $15, $20 an hour. And you're also paying, some of these people are paying off massive student debt. So it's enough to kind of scrape by. The other avenue, and the one that I did, I think if you have the funds, do it. I kind of rolled the dice. So I should backtrack a little bit. To be a CFI, you actually have to go through additional schooling and additional money.
What does CFI stand for?
Certified Flight Instructor.
Okay.
So to be that teacher, you then have to go back to school after you just finished everything and essentially learn how to teach. And there's written exams, there's your check ride, and it's nerve-wracking because you have to essentially start from scratch again. What I did, I was never certified as a flight instructor. I never did it. I think this is kind of how AJ kind of introduced me as well. What I used to do is buy and sell and flip sports cars, and made a decent enough nest egg on top of working full time and all that good stuff, where I sold my dream car, got it in cash, and then put all the money to go time build. And
what was that?
I had a 2013 M3.
Nice.
Yeah, that was it for me, man. That was something I always wanted, unreliable as it is, but it was my baby, and I loved it. It was, the carbon roof, manual, carbon hood. The guy went crazy on it. It was awesome. So it broke my heart, but I sold it essentially to roll the dice, like balls to the wall. I'm going to build to 500 hours because that's the bare minimum that you can get hired on, like bare minimum. And I had a lot of people that I trust and get advice from say, you're crazy. Like, this is a huge waste of money. You don't know if you're going to get hired. And then what happens when you're out of money? Because at that point, I'd be out. I'd have to go find a job doing whatever. Yeah. So rolled the dice, and I was doing all my time building out of Chandler Airport. So there's a really cheap, like, little Cessna, and how it works is it's $100 wet, like, in hours. And that's like in aviation, that's nothing. That's half of what a flight school would cost. And wet essentially means like the fuel you put in it is an additional cost. So that $100 is what I pay an hour. And what I would do is 7 to 9 hour days in a Cessna with no AC, getting tossed around, flying all around like southern Arizona. What I would do is I'd leave from Chandler to Yuma to Gila Bend to Havasu, Havasu to Gila Bend to Tucson to Gila Bend back to Chandler. And you do that enough, and if you pull the power back and you go real slow, it's like 9 hours. And after that,
you're crawling in the sky.
Yeah, but you're like, you're dizzy after it because it is an insane amount of time, and there's no autopilot in that thing, and it's not very fun to fly. It's brutal, but you're grinding.
Those are the little, 5 passenger? How many people fit in a Cessna?
So there's 4 seats.
Those are tiny, right?
Yeah, there's 4 seats, but it won't seat 4.
Right.
It's
like a sports car with 4 seats.
And not even like that. Me and you would be at our max gross weight.
Oh my God.
So if we put another human person back there, we'd be overweight.
Yeah.
It's just a useless, they're essentially to hold bags. Those seats are useless. So all along, there was this one charter company out of Chandler. I'd always see they had what's called a Baron 58. And that's just a twin engine, so twin piston engine propeller airplane. It was fast. It's one of the faster ones that exists. And we'd essentially follow this guy's route because we chose the route we did because Gila Bend was, I keep saying go back there. It's a good hub for cheap fuel. And it was like untowered and you can kind of do what you want. It's a nice like breather if you have to stop because everywhere else.
Good for photo shoots too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like desolate, middle of nowhere.
Yep.
And they have the, I forgot what it's called, that quarter or that half mile race down there too.
Yeah, that's where they do the no-fly zone.
Yeah.
Yep, no-fly zone. Yep.
Yeah, so it was a great little hub for us. But essentially what we do inadvertently is follow this professional pilot doing his job. So what he would do is he'd go from Chandler to Yuma, sit all day, then bring his people back, Chandler to Havasu and sit all day. He didn't go to Tucson, but essentially what we did is follow this guy around. And, you know, I saw him in one of the cafes in Gila Bend. And I'm like, hey, told him who I was, what I was about, and said, like, you know, I want to work for you guys. I'm right here. He told me the owner's name of the company and just said, just stop in sometime. He might be around. Sure enough, first time I went in there, I had like 300 hours just starting this journey. And he kind of like, I've come across this a lot, like whether it be in motorsport or aviation, like people will kind of laugh at you and tell you to go pound sand. But what people like is just consistency, keep coming back. Yep. And so what I always tell people that are, you know, low time or don't have a lot of money to get into stuff is like, just be a cockroach. People like it. If you go to see this boss, he goes like, hey, keep building your time or, you know, come back when you have he didn't even want me at 500 hours, but keep shooing me away. If I keep coming back with a good attitude, in a weird way, it makes people kind of like you a little bit.
Right, yeah.
You're like so annoying, you're likable. And I found good success with that in racing. So I figured it's got to work. Might as well translate. So I gave it a go. And it ended up being, he had a count. So keep in mind, this is like 250 hours of my life going to Chandler Airport. Like I wasn't like all of my money was in this. So I was flying with another guy every single day. We were splitting the money. Just splitting the cost of the rental. And I think I ended up going 35 times in his office, kicks me out. Like he knows me. And now like even like there's days where I didn't see him, I'd call him because I had like, it wasn't as personal, but it was like a direct line through his business. He'd hear my voice, like kind of sigh and say, just, you know, I'm not in the office today, like essentially go away. Yeah. So like I'm bothering this guy and it's like, man, I'm either totally burning a bridge with this dude or it's going to work. So now I'm like 490 hours. So I'm like almost totally out of money. Like I'm like tapped. I go in, talk to him, same deal. Like, hey, you know, I'm still just as committed as when we first met. I want to work for you. And tosses me, you know, like, hey, just keep building your time. You're still way too young, so inexperienced. Like we have applicants with twice the time. Fine. And I knew I had like one more shot at me where I was going to go back. This is it. Like I'm out. I had 500 hours like on the nose. And I went into his office. It was like in the afternoon, like I'm drenched in sweat. I go in there and I tell him, I say, hey, listen, you know, this is it. I have now invested all of my money into this. I am now at the bare minimum requirement to be hired under a charter company. Like it's what's required by law. Said, I am at the bare minimum. I'm hireable. When can I start? What can I do? And then, you know, just as the 35 other times that happened before, he basically told me, you know, keep building your time. We'll be in touch. And I knew what that meant. That was just like, that was it. So he kind of stood up to shake my hand. And I don't remember what I said, but it was like a 5 or 10 minute speech.
Look, motherfucker. Da.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, I poured my heart out into this guy. And he kind of like chuckled, shook my hand, and that was it. I started walking out to my car in the parking lot. Like my head was sunk. Like
defeated, man.
I'm like, my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then he texted me. He said, hey, tomorrow, why don't you come back to the hangar? I'm going to put you on a flight in our King Air. And a King Air is essentially instead of jet engines with turbo fans, they're propellers. So it's like a 2-jet engine airplane, technically.
Is it bigger than a Cessna?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Significantly. It's 2 engine. It seats 8 people. And it can go, you know, it flies for like 6 hours, but it's like depending on which one you have, it's the ones they had were like $3 to $5 million. So it's a multi-million-dollar airplane.
Right.
And he said, we're going to put you on a flight in the right seat. It's a single pilot airplane, so I wasn't really required to be there, and we'll see how you do. And after that, the rest is history. And that was really what sparked my career. It was all thanks to that.
So you've been doing that since you were 21?
I was 20.
20, so a couple of years. Mm-hmm. What's now? Do you have to sign like NDAs? Like you're not really allowed to talk about who your cargo is. Can we call people cargo? Is that safe?
People.
Yeah, your people. Yeah, your people cargo. Yeah.
Not at this at my previous company where I started. At my new one, yes, but the last one, no. So had the pretty cool opportunity. I mean, we flew like Devin Booker, the Jenners. I flew Matthew McConaughey.
That's cool.
All sorts of like incredible people that I've like watched on TV, and I couldn't say I had a bad interaction with any of them. They were all great folks, surprisingly so.
Because that's when you find out, behind everything, and how do they talk to the people that are driving them or bellhop or flying them type of deal. Yeah,
and it's something. It's because I think the easier you make their life on them, I'm not hounding them for stuff, and it's just really reading the room. At the end of the day, they could be on the phone with an assistant or doing whatever they want all day long, but they're going to listen to me when I give them a briefing, and I make it pretty abundantly clear. I'm like, hey, sir, ma'am, whoever. I don't even go that formal, actually. Mm-hmm. Like, just need probably 2 minutes of your attention. Might save your life. Not planning anything happening, but this is kind of important. So once you kind of get them through that, and then I try to make them laugh with something. If they're receptive, if they're not, I leave them alone. But for the most part, it's been pretty good. Really enjoyed it. That's the cool thing about being in corporate charter is, you meet everybody.
That's cool. You ever have a bad interaction? You don't tell us who they are, but have you ever been like, oh, that person's a dick or that person's and to be fair, someone could be having a bad day, but then they could also just be an asshole. Yeah. I mean, there's some people, that fly out, to Scottsdale quite a bit that are, that are celebrities difficult. It's, they have additional kind of demands, which kind of stretches the realm of what we do, which is okay. It's part of the job, but, just kind of blowing people off that are giving a briefing. It really hasn't happened to me, but I've heard people that just won't listen to people, stuffed in their phone, just kind of ignoring them, or it's just, it's part of the job, because at the end of the day, we're just a means to get these. I mean, we're an Uber. Right.
It's just a glorified Uber. So, it's part of the deal sometimes. And I wouldn't, I can't fault anybody because I don't know what's going on. I mean, the last thing I want to be in my life is a true celebrity. That would be exhausting. I couldn't even imagine just hounded for pictures, everybody on you. I mean, that's just, so I don't even want to begin to make any kind of judgment, but it happens. I mean, even with, even not even just getting out of the celebrity realm, but even just business people or the mega wealthy or people that just inherited all the money, I mean, there's people everywhere, and I really wouldn't, define a whole section of people, or there's good and bad everywhere. I've learned. You would kind of think like celebrities are kind of worse, but they really aren't. They're
people.
Yeah, they're people. They really are, and it's been cool to see them just with outside of a camera, outside of an interview, just interact and be human beings. And it was like, man, this is it's pretty refreshing.
Yeah, it seems like, and I'm a significantly older than you. In fact, you're younger than both my kids. God, I feel old now. Thank you, Mr. Keys.
I'm sorry.
But I think that, and I think I experienced this at Monterey Car Week, that when you're just having a regular conversation with these people, they probably enjoy that way more than you. Even if it's somebody that you adore, it's like they just want to have a regular conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's it really is something, because you see like Devin Booker, anybody in Phoenix, they're going to want to, he's like, he's the face of our basketball
want something
team.
From him.
Yeah.
Photo, autograph, something.
Yes. And that's not to say I don't. Shoot, I'd love one too.
100%,
but it's your job. One of the coolest interactions I've ever had was with Shaq, and I wasn't even flying him. I don't think he'd fit in our airplane. I was in a FBO. FBO is like a private jet terminal. Mm-hmm. And I was in San Francisco. It was after one of the Golden State, I think it was after game 3. It was recently, this last championship.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there with my captain, and we're waiting for our Uber. It's taking forever. It's like pouring rain, and we're just kind of sitting tight. I'm like sprawled out on like this couch at the terminal because you live there as a pilot. It's, you make it your own. And, I see like 6 dudes kind of walk through the door. They're all like, 6'8", 6'9", and we knew the game just let out. Massive guys. Like, they're ball players or just in great shape, like whatever.
There's somebody.
Yeah. Or bodyguards for somebody. Right. And, they definitely make a presence. And sure enough, man, out like from the back of the group comes like Shaq. And like,
holy shit,
we look at each other and we're like, because I still get starstruck, man.
Yeah,
it's like all these people, but it's cool. Like especially Shaq, like, I don't know. That's pretty cool to me. And I'm sitting on like this couch facing one direction, and there's like a love seat right next to me, and he leaves his whole group of guys, and he just sits right next to me. I just like look at him like, what's up, Shaq? And he just starts talking to me. He like dabs me up. And then, it was like everything I hoped. Like same voice, like he was funny. Like I talked to the guy for like, I don't know, it felt like forever, but it ended up being like 10-minute conversation with this dude. And he was so like nice and so genuine. He was asking me like just actually taking an interest. Like, okay, what do you fly? Like how long you been doing it? Like what? Like it was so like pure. It was really cool. But it really goes to show exactly what you're saying is like just having a normal conversation, it makes all the difference. And that for me was the hardest one, not to be like, dude, can we please take a picture? I just talked to you for 10 minutes.
No one's ever going to believe me on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had to like leave there thinking like, you know what? I did the right thing, but dang, I regret it. But it was, it was cool.
But right? And it's, I've heard, I mean, Shaq, I've heard he's like just a tremendous person, and how cool that is because he's so big to the game, larger than life, and he could be a complete get off me. But that goes right in line with things I've heard. My brother-in-law, about 2 years ago, he had like a 45-minute conversation with DMX in the airport.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean he took a selfie with him, but it's just. And he loved it. And so when, when DMX passed, like I've never really been a big DMX fan. Like I don't dislike him. I just never really gravitated to, more than 2 of his like big songs. But that conversation you had with Shaq's going to like mean you're never going to forget it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's even worth a lot more than just a photo.
Yeah,
actually, it is worth a lot more than a photo, but it would be cool to have a photo anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's something to be said about that. I mean, just actually that's kind of like the problem with like the social media world. And I'm like, such a hypocrite with that. Like look at my stuff on my Instagram. It's just a highlight reel, but it just shows you like how programmed we are. Like, okay, let me just get this thing from this person. Like, throughout the history, it's always been autographs. And now like with my generation, it's like pictures or a cameo or a video. It's like some kind of like, look, I'm seen with this person. And, I'm trying to remove it from my brain, but I don't think it'll happen because it's how we are now.
It's how we are. Yeah.
And, I think you're totally right. It's wise just to like, look at it like, man, I just made a cool interaction cooler because I didn't ask for that. So yeah, it teaches you a lot with that stuff. It really does, especially flying all these people that, I look at or I watch on TV and stuff. So it's been really cool.
No, that's super special. Race car driving. You said you learned to, so it sounds like you did that, significantly, at least before what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Talk about that because I think last time you were here, you were kind of like, let's talk about it. Did you race like drive Miatas or something? Like what? Tell me a little bit. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I got the cockroach mentality.
Mm-hmm.
My family took great care of me. They helped me a lot through school, but they weren't going to put a dime into motorsport, which I understood. It's just, for anybody that doesn't know, anybody that races on a professional level either had a 1 in a million offer with a super wealthy individual, or they are the wealthy individual, or they come from a family of wealthy individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's very expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And really it's weird how little people know that are into any kind of motorsport. It's like, this is just so unattainable. It's like, yes, they're fantastic, they're athletes, whatever, but it's so like unreachable. And I didn't know that going in. My uncle raced Formula Ford in Europe. He's from England, so that's what kind of got me into it. And he steered me along the path of karting because that was like the best way to start. I started when I was like 14, And my parents, like I said, they just didn't want to go into it all. So what he told me, my uncle gave me the advice, and he said, well, why don't you go to like an event or a track day or whatever they call it in karting. Like it was like a race. It was like a race weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And PKRA over in, it's by Wet and Wild in Peoria, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
It's like a good spot in Arizona for everybody coming in to want to try anything in racing. And I went there, watched a little bit. I was there by myself too. I just started kind of like talking along with like kids my own age doing it or younger. Primarily it was
How
younger.
old were you at the time?
I was like 14.
Okay, yeah.
So for karting, I mean, shoot, some people that at that age were driving like Formula 3 cars. So I'm older, but it's all new. And there was this guy there that had a ride and drive program. And he had like a big trailer with like 10 go-karts that were double stacked. And what he would do is it was a ride and drive. So he would manage their go-karts, or they were owned by his clients, customers, whatever. That the kids are 8 to 18 years old. So they're kids. Mm-hmm. But he would manage their go-karts, mechanic them, get them out, get them right, change the tires, do driver coaching too. So he had to have some kind of background. He had a big poster explaining all this, and I watched it. And that was a service he did. So I went over to him. I told him, like, hey, this is, it's embarrassing looking back on it, but it's like, I don't really know how else you can explain yourself. I'm like, hey, I really want to do this. What can I do? Like,
right.
Could you use somebody working as like an quote unquote intern working for free? Like I'll clean your trailer. I'll help you. I really don't know what I'm doing, but I'll help you with whatever you need, in exchange like for some seat time. And he was really cool. He was like, he wasn't that old either. He was like 23. Kind of looked at me and thought about it. He's like I was like kind of dressed up a little bit. He's like, here, I'll make you a deal. He's like, we end at like whatever time on tomorrow. You clean this trailer for me today. You come back tomorrow, help me put all the go-karts away. I'll leave one out and we'll see what happens.
Oh, that's cool.
And I said, okay. So I'm like in like jeans and like a nice 14, but right. Still for me, it was just dressed up a little bit.
Well, you're told to be, if you make sure if you're going to, solicit anyone, you're presentable and professional and stuff.
Yeah.
I get it.
And I spent like, I don't even know. It was like it was till it got dark and I was there at noon, like all day cleaning this guy's. Like I was covered in like head to toe. I was completely black from dirt. And I did whatever I could. He looked at everything. He gave me a race suit that he like, just one that he loaned out to people. He was like, it's yours. Come back tomorrow. And I came back and he let me just go out there with one of, for what it was. It was like some 2-stroke Rotax, but it wasn't, you didn't shift the gear. So it was, it's been a long time, but started out one of those. And for me, that was like a rocket ship because all I ever did was indoor karting. Mm-hmm. And he put me on like super, like borderline corded, like tire. They're super old. And kind of watched me for a while. I spun a couple times. Like I couldn't get any grip. He kind of liked what he saw and he's like, we can make something work with us. And it turns out that guy was a Bondurant instructor. And I didn't know
kidding.
That. Yeah. And ended up working where I would do exactly what I did. And then when he got off work at Bondurant, I would go at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night when they used to have their go-karting school, and I would go drive the go-kart track. And that's how I got trained to doing, that's where I started on that.
That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. That's super cool. So where did you go from there?
So he, I don't know if he left first or Bondurant got rid of their karting school, but that was kind of the beginning. And he was going to go move to Colorado. So I knew, my golden ticket was kind of going away. And at the time, now I'm like 16 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm working at like a golf course, cleaning golf clubs and golf carts, whatever. So
doing 16-year-old jobs, 16-year-old job shit. Yeah.
Yeah. I was working 4 hours a week though after high school and then doing this on top of it. But, trying to make some kind of money. And I knew I wanted to get into cars just because as great as he was to me, go-karts, while they're a way better tool, and I think they teach you better and the sensation of speed's a lot better, they just aren't cool to sponsors, really, for a lot of people.
Right.
It's so hard to like go to Buddy's Pizza Shop across the street and be like, hey, I drive this go-kart and do this. And they're like, as opposed to like, I have this sports car. You can look at it. I'll drive it right to you. Here's a roll cage. Here's all this cool stuff that it like, for me, that's just kind of what I came to realize So I scouring Craigslist, and I found this Mazda Miata, because the new spec Miata was kind of what I wanted to get into.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a Mazda Miata with, essentially it was like a roll cage, like a proper cage on stock suspension, a stock motor that hasn't even been bored out or touched, all that. But it was a running Miata that, it worked. Brakes started, stopped, and it had a roll cage. And I forgot what he had it up for, but he was from Anthem. He kind of bought it as like a toy. It was an older guy, really nice guy. And he sold it to me for, I think, like $3,000, which now, like, good luck.
Right.
There's none of those that exist. And I went to Pro Autosports, if you're familiar.
I'm not.
It's like one of two club racing people out here. And so now I have this car. I still don't have money to go wheels, tires, all the other stuff you have to do to go race. I didn't have money for any of that. So what I did, I went to the people at Pro Autosports. I said, hey, this is kind of the predicament I'm in. Could you use me as like a corner worker? What can I do to volunteer? Like, you need me to put wristbands on people? Like, what can I do? And they used me as like a wristband guy, sign the waiver guy. In exchange, like, I'd work one day, get a track day for free. So I worked I don't even know.
There's this theme with you. If you want something, you're willing to go out and get it, and you're willing to work for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Look, man, I'm not trying to sound like an old man here. Dude, you're 22. There's a lot of people within, a 5-year grace period of your age who just don't want to have anything to do with anything. Just give it to me. If I can't have it, fuck off.
Yeah. I just wanted it, and I knew there was no other way. So what other thing can I do besides like doing absolutely everything to make it work?
You could have been a petulant child and complained about it and quit.
That's true. But then I wouldn't have been driving a race car.
That's right.
So it was.
And that tenacity kind of led you to, a couple years later starting to fly.
Yeah. So like I said, it really translated well.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough that taught me a lot about life. And even that the racing, I think, was like paramount to any success I have along down the line. I'm still learning every day about how to interact with people, how to network, how not to be weird, how to just kind of grow up. So I'm still always learning, but that essentially got me a bunch of free track days, and I didn't have like a tent or anything it was just me like sitting there with a lawn chair, and I put like my jack in the trunk, and like those Miatas can hold quite a bit. You'd be surprised. But I was like, it was very much like, it was laughable because I didn't have all the stuff that these other people did. And there was like this one group of people I'd always see there. Like, they went to every event. And he had like this massive trailer, but it casted a pretty good width of shade, just, unintentional. And I'm like, hey, can I just like steal your shade and pit right next to you for this weekend? He's like, yeah, of course. He's like, why don't you come in? Like, he introduced me to everybody. And then that became a group. And now from them, I met other people and other people. And it went to me not knowing anybody to a network of people. Like, now it's been a little bit since I've done club racing stuff, but I know a lot of people just because I was like that kid that just never went away. And what I would do is I got, so I started out in Pro Autosports. The first season I raced, I did like in a GTU class because my car, they don't have spec Miata there. So I was racing against like Volkswagen Rabbits, like they're all race cars, or I'm trying to think they're essentially like 200 horsepower front wheel drive, rear wheel drive cars, max 200, just super light. And then I was in like this other like section class because of how my car was, and I went to almost every event I could. I couldn't make all of them because I couldn't afford it, and I finished like second in that championship, and then I went over to NASA, who actually has a spec Miata series, and now I'm like 17, essentially offered to do the same thing. And the process, continued. So just signing people in and all that good stuff. And then, the combination of these two things led into me getting into driving instructing. So I was with Pro Autosports, instead of signing people in, I was now teaching people how to drive their whatever.
Oh,
so that was
nice.
Yeah, that was the cool part. So instead of having to sit there at the gate, could actually go teach people how to drive. So Pro Autosports at 17, I was the youngest instructor they've had. And then NASA at 18, I was the youngest in AZ. And it was just lucky, man. It was pretty cool.
Do you ever get any seat time now? I mean, where are you with that? Because I know you got your BMW that you had to turn around and sell.
Yeah. When I started flying, like really flying for a job, it all went away.
Right.
Which really sucks. But what essentially I was doing with instructing when I first got in is sometimes like guys would put me in like their actual race cars. Like I got really in like the BMW crowd. Mm-hmm. So I would drive like my car that I'd always get in was an E46 M3, but the guy had like an insane amount of money into the thing. I mean, it was like a $70,000 race car. Mm-hmm. And he would go in, set a lap. I would go in and set a, like, it ended up being a faster lap. And he's like, okay, why did you do this? Why did that? So I started doing like more individual coaching, just kind of on accident. And then I started getting seat time in these race cars. And now they're going to do like endurance racing. Like, hey, we need another guy. We'll drive you out there, do everything for free. You don't pay a dime. And it was that kind of like networking that got me now racing BMWs. I raced Porsche GT4s just for free, just because I was coaching the people that actually own these cars. So that was at the height of my seat time. Now, like, same with NASA, I had to be 18. Like that's the legal limit that they have there for their insurance. But just instructing, and then I started doing like private instruction where they'd rent the track and I'd go out, essentially like undivided attention. I had my own layout with these people and how I'd, I catered a training schedule to their needs, because some people are either super bold or some people are super conservative, and you got to kind of find push or bring them back. Right. I'd want to go with a conservative guy or gal all day long because the bold person could kill you. Right. But it's it's kind of setting up a curriculum for them, and these people, they're obviously super wealthy, which has got me, it translates to aviation, all these things do, and just kind of knowing how to interact with people. And, there's some times where I'm kind of being hard on this millionaire that's paying me out there, but I'm like, I'm trying to make him or her better, and it works. So it's, learning how to interact with people and how much you really can push with the personality. And it led to a lot of pretty cool opportunities. So that was when I was racing the most. And like I said, when I started flying, that was it. I haven't had time.
Yeah, and I think even back to your flying, you were telling me, setting this session up that you don't even know till days before, right? It makes it harder to schedule stuff. You can't schedule track time. Next Tuesday because you could be flying somewhere. Right? Yeah,
so that was at my old spot, the place that gave me my great opportunity. That was kind of how they ran things. Mm-hmm. Like if we were here today talking, I'd have to have my ringer on and my phone on, and if they call, I got to go. So it was like you're on call 24/7, which for me, as incredible as an opportunity that was, like they got me in a jet. Yeah. I had to kind of, I have a long-term girlfriend I live with. I have a family of friends. Like I'm just, I had to kind of make the decision to take a step back from that and find an opportunity that enabled me to have a schedule and, a lot more time around. So hopefully getting back into it soon.
I don't know. It sounds like a cool opportunity, but it sounds very, very scattered though too. So, where do you go from here?
As far as flying?
As far as flying, yeah.
So they're gonna. I have to go back to school. So there's like recurrent training when you start flying jets or things that require what's called a type rating. So essentially, when you go to fly, this private jet, somebody hires you on. Hey, I got this airplane. You got to go fly it. Okay, I got to go to school for a month to go learn how to fly this airplane and get certified on it. And then every year you have to go for recurrent training. I'm now timing out to where I have to get my year recurrent, but they're going to upgrade me to a captain type rating. So now I'm going to be a captain on this Learjet as opposed to a first officer always in the right seat. So that's pretty exciting. Something I've really been looking forward to doing, just being in charge of this private jet. And then from there, I want to go bigger, just something that'll cross the Atlantic, cross the world and travel a little bit more, find something a lot bigger. That's the end goal right now.
So I was going to ask earlier, and I can ask it again because you kind of helped me bring it back. But like, where are you just Southwest right now? Not airlines, obviously, but regional speaking.
No.
Where
even for both, all around the country.
Okay.
And we'll go as far as out of the country. Cabo, lot, it's really popular, especially from Scottsdale. And then Vancouver is the only time I've been in Canada, but I've been to Vancouver quite a few times. But it's essentially all across the country. Our Lear will cross, it'll do coast to coast. So it's got the range for it. But as far as actually making the leap over the pond,
not yet.
You'd be making so many stops. It's just a dumb airplane for it.
Right.
You'd be paying way more on fuel and landing fees and all this other nonsense than as opposed to renting a real Gulfstream that'll go the distance.
What's been your least favorite place to fly to? Like there's that one time you flew to Truth and Consequences, New Mexico, and you fucking hated it type of deal.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of Albuquerque, at all. I've had quite a few nights there. I didn't really know. I kind of thought it was an area, it was the cool part about the plane is it lets you see the country, but I didn't. Yeah, it's not a place I would want to go back to at all. And then aside from that, the rough overnights is when you go to like the Midwest when it's flat as can be, and then the town that you're going to be sleeping in is like a population of like 4,000. So you go to like this super tiny little hotel, this little log cabin thing they have, which is it's fun to kind of get away and all that, but it's tough to explore and kind of make the most of your job when there's really nothing around. So for me, those are like the worst overnights by far.
Favorite destination so far?
It's
a toss up.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can list them.
It's more like places that have cool things.
Right.
Place I normally overnight the most is Seattle, and I've really come to like it. It is. It's a cool place. Gone to Monterey quite a bit. Pretty cool. Nashville and New Orleans, I think, are so much fun. Man, it's Aspen's cool. It's tough. I mean, it's even Chicago where I'm from originally, like that. It's wherever stuff is. For me, it's like I don't so much pick a favorite. But for me, it's like a breath of fresh air to actually be able to do something. But at this old place where I was working, for the most part, is we get in at like 8 p.m. and we're exhausted because I just did like 6 other legs. I went all across the country. I ended up in like Chicago, right? And then my departure the next morning is at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any time to look at anything. It's like straight to the hotel, dinner, if you even have time for that, and then the next morning all over again. So
hold on. What kind of dietary restrictions do you have? Because you probably have to be like on it. Like not to get anyone in trouble. I'm just curious, just thinking about it. Because if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the hotel, have a glass of wine, have a salmon or whatever, and then because I gotta get up, but you probably can't do that, can you?
Well, so as far as alcohol, it's 8 hours.
Okay, it's not too bad at all.
No, it's like definitely
unless you're drinking at 2 a.m.
Right, but pilots for the most part all the time have a beer at dinner. Yeah. I mean, it was the amount of guys and gals I've flown with, they all have a beer at dinner. They all do. But obviously, it's kind of a big deal. You got a lot of people live in your hands, and I've never been with anybody that has like more than one or drinks an excessive amount. Like it's because it's a tough thing morally. You wouldn't ever want to put somebody in jeopardy, and there's also laws against that. So as far as that, yeah, but as far as like a nice like an opulent dinner or something, nice to go eat. Like what thing is open at 9 o'clock at night in Wyoming? I was going to say it depends
on when you land.
Right.
100% where you land and when you have to go.
So you're kind of limited to whatever Taco Bell or Burger King or McDonald's like best options are that night. Those are like the grinding time of charter. That's why, they'll hire low time guys because it doesn't really hold on to guys a long time. People that want to make it a career, they don't really want to be, every last morsel of food. Like the amount of chips and pretzels and stuff in our airplane that I've just gone through because I haven't eaten all day.
You can't stop, it's like, oh, just one more bag.
But the worst part is not drinking water. Mm-hmm. Like it's like an unhealthy amount because we can do like I said, like 4.5 hours, but across the country. The problem is the cabin height of my airplane is 5'2" or 5'4", and I'm 6'5". So it is a very uncomfortable walk from the cockpit. I got to get out of this tight cockpit, walk my big butt all the way down the aisle and go use this lab that does not fit me. And you don't want to do that with passengers there because it's like, it's just an uncomfortable thing.
Right,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. I never really felt comfortable doing it. When you got to go, you got to go. But what that kind of, translates into is like, I'm not going to drink any water at all. You have to dehydrate yourself a ton because you don't want to be making those trips. So it creates like this super unhealthy, like you're done on an overnight, not to be too graphic, but your pee is like brown and you're like, this is not,
yeah, that's not good.
Something is not right here. Yeah. And it's tough. So the diet is the worst part. And that's why a lot of pilots like get super overweight. Like their bellies are overlapping their harnesses.
Truck drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like, what are you going to do when you're up there? Okay, there's this huge bag of chips, like the snack bag that we have in the airplane. It's like, I'm just going to munch on that because I can't eat anything else. So it's sometimes it comes with the territory, but there's, the amount of like quote unquote, like pilot influencers that have like tons of followers that are super cut. Like they maintain like that insane work ethic of eating super healthy and then going to use whatever crappy hotel gym they're at to like the most of the fullest extent they can. So it's tough in that respect for sure.
So what you guys heard is Mike Keys is a 6'5" guy who was killing it in a Mazda Miata. That's what I heard.
Seat was bolted to the floor.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
That's insane. So what do you order? What does Mike Keys order at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night when he's hungry? Just imagine every fast food place is open, but only them.
Well, if Salad and Go's open, that's the first choice.
I don't even know what Salad and Go is.
They're sprouting everywhere.
Are they?
Yeah, it's like dirt cheap salad wraps or Caesar salads and stuff. So that's first choice. All DoorDash stuff in the air. Like we have Wi-Fi on the plane. So if we land at like an FBO for an hour, I'll get like acai bowls or smoothies sent over. But for these overnights that I'm primarily on, I got a Taco Bell and then get a bunch of stuff and feel bad about myself the next day. Like the beefy 5-layer burrito, the chicken quesadilla, the burrito supreme. And then it's like whatever I can to like not eat throughout the day to burn off that those calories I just put on, and then gym, and then it's not great. It
sounds difficult. Well, I mean, you look great right now, but you're also young. But you're gonna have to figure something out.
Yes.
Mike Keys, how can we get a hold of you? How can we follow you and support watching your Instagram so you get paid a little bit of money?
That's probably the best way is DMs. I try to get back to as many as I can. They're probably Mike H Keys on Instagram. That's the best way to reach out. And yeah, it's I couldn't think of a better way.
Is that all you're on Instagram? Do you do the Facebook? Hey, are you a TikToker?
No.
It seems like, your look, what you do, that all seems like it's very good for, and I call it the TikTok machine on purpose, just to sound like an old person. What are your thoughts on TikTok? I hate it, but.
Well, I do Reels because they're not as saturated. That's how I got to build my following, is from Reels. So I kind of do TikTok, but
yeah,
I don't like TikTok. I don't have it. My girlfriend's obsessed with it, and a lot of my friends are too, and especially the pilot guys too. They're always.
Is it kind of like a turn off when everyone's obsessed with something that you don't?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's like that it conditions people. Like, okay, 30 seconds, I have to love what I see, or I swipe up. Like, I go on YouTube all the time. That's like my release and stuff. I can watch like a 20-minute video if it's something that's interesting, but that kind of 30 second, I don't like the dancing. And then for me, the thing that drives me nuts is the same sounds that are trending. So I'll hear her phone like from like across the room, and it's the same song, and she's watching 20 different videos. I'm like, my God, I like that song like before I heard this, and now I can't stand it. That to me is like, it's unbearable. I can't deal with the TikTok stuff.
What's worse, that or the TikTok voice?
TikTok voice. What do you mean?
The woman voice.
Oh my, yeah.
This is
like
what my friend said.
Yes. Yeah. And corporations do that too.
Yeah.
Like massive, like car companies, aircraft, huge corporations that should not be messing around with this stuff. They stoop to that low level and they make like this garbage content. I'm like, my God.
My wife loves TikTok. Obviously, Wes Tankersley, who listens to this, he's grown. He's found TikTok to be more successsul for his brand than Instagram. And I guess it's just, find whatever social media outlet works best for you. But I don't know. I just can't go over there. I just can't.
It's saturated though too. I mean, I've given it a go when I was so late to it, and I was just kind of recycling what I had from Instagram, but they don't keep the audio. So I just found like whatever was happening and nowhere near the same results. And honestly, like, full disclosure, if it took off, I probably would keep doing it because why not?
Sure.
I did kind of run into, this is the issue with the Instagram stuff and not putting watermarks on your stuff. Like, first off, you should put a watermark on it, but nobody's going to like, when it's in your face like that, people seem to care less, I've learned.
No, it's you're right. Statistically, you're right. Anytime there's actually words or something on what you're doing on Instagram, it bombs.
Yeah. So I've had a few videos taken from my account, and other accounts will do it without permission. It's happened on Instagram a few times. Instagram's pretty good about taking it down right away. So that part I've really appreciated. But TikTok, I've had tons of people do it.
Wild West.
Yeah. So what I did got like, I don't know, 30,000 views. and their video of my exact video got 500,000. It's like,
Right.
oh,
It's like, oh, I could use that 500,000
yeah,
right now.
like why did your algorithm choose you? Like why? It's that part's kind of annoying, and I know how like superficial it sounds, but I wanted the free stuff from Instagram. That's
Sure.
all. That's all. I wanted to partner with people. I wanted to. It sucks though. That to me is like the most infuriating thing, because like I was there. I took the video. I took the time to put my stupid little edit on it, and then all you do is screen record it and put it up on your own, and then you get all. And you know, I have people sending me the video, like, oh yeah, you sent it to them and they blew up, and then you posted it yourself. Like, no, they took it to me. Like they took it from my account 2 months after I posted it.
Right.
So it's tough, and TikTok's been like a huge like proponent of that, and I've just kind of resorted to like, hey, can you like please take it down? Like I didn't have my permission from it. It's such a headache too to go into that, but I keep kind of fighting it because it's the principle. But there's going to come a point where I just give up, because it happens a lot.
Yeah, and it's a couple things with that. So, talking about swiping so fast, and I realize this, we watch our grandson, and everyone does this thing where, if I have a kid, I'm not going to give him an iPad, but all the other kids have it, and it gets them to shut up quicker. But he'll want to watch something, and he's on like kids YouTube or whatever it's called, and he's watching a video, and like 5-6 seconds of the video, he touches a different video. And I'm like, dude, I thought you liked this. And he just keeps bouncing from video to video. And for someone like me, it drives me crazy. It's like, you haven't even got to the good part yet. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And it's just that's just the way things are going. Just flip.
And it's programming that like, that's normal. But like the real world's kind of mundane.
Yeah.
And it's like, you got to find some other joy, some other way. It's kind of scary in that respect, but Vine was the same way though.
I remember Vine, yeah.
But Vine didn't get as much hate.
Yeah.
So how does that make sense? Vine is 6 seconds too.
It's about timing. They always say that, Paris Hilton was the Kardashians before the Kardashians.
Yeah.
She peaked too early. I mean, I'm sure she's not upset about it. She's probably still worth billions of dollars, but
Yeah, there's something about that, I mean, Vines like are looked back at like nostalgia and like, oh, this was like the best time of like social media. This was all great, but that's the same kind of conditioning, and nobody was talking about it then, or at least that I remember. It's so weird. It really peaks early.
You know who Milli Vanilli is?
Yeah, the lip syncers.
Yeah, you've seen the memes lately. It's like they're up. Everything they got in trouble for then, people are like making just killing it on TikTok for.
Yeah, that was a big deal, right?
Yeah,
that was. Yeah.
I kind of slaughtered that, but you got it, and hopefully the listeners did too. It's just the irony, kind of looking back. Mike Keys, man, thank you for coming into the studios. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
Really enjoyed it.
I want to thank Mike for coming in studio and joining. If you want to follow him on social media, that is Mike H. Keys, all ran together on Instagram. I think he said the same thing on TikTok. I wouldn't know. I don't have it. But, good dude. I gave him an open invitation. He has an open invitation to come through the studio whenever he likes. We got to get back to the Q&A segment. I feel like I haven't done Q&A in a while. We used to do it every episode. Tell me what you want, HardParkingPodcast@gmail.com. I'm not asking you for ideas, make no mistake. But I do love that people slide me articles from time to time. I just need to bring them up. So maybe in the car news, got a few things that I've been sent. But it's time to wrap this up. I want to thank Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona, 4wheelonline.com, Cellshot Wireless Services, Westgate Exotic Cars and Rentals, Patreon business supporters, Koya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida, Pell Construction out of Caledonia, Michigan, and the Big House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan. If you're interested in helping the podcast upgrade, why would you not? Join the Patreon for as little as $3 a month to get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. Things like updates with my car. Things like family life. You want to know what I really think about something? You get it on the Patreon. Thanks Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Graves, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alice Camina, and Drew Bunkley. If you're interested in picking up a Hard Parking Podcast shirt, I still have them. Email the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram, Jhae Pfenning. That's JHAEPFENNING. Did I spell that right? PFENNING? I did. Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. I can't grow without you telling the world how great the show is. Let's do this. Let's grow this thing together, and I'll talk to you all next week. Izzy, take us home.
Shut up! Now it's stripping time.